This is gonna suck.
I know.
You set my world on fire. You're my heart's desire.
Okay, guys. This is the video.
Yeah.
We decided to switch up where we usually film because to kind of like, you know, keep it calm. We have a candle going. We're relaxing.
No, we're definitely not. My heart's beating really fast.
Yeah. As you guys can see by the title of this video, we are going to finally tell the story of what happened with Ben's parents when we told them that I was pregnant. The bigger story is his mom. So why don't you give a little backstory of your family situation?
Okay, you guys have seen my dad, but not really my family in general, just like my side other than my brother. Me and Gabe were born in Bolivia because my mom was in the Peace Corps. My dad played soccer down there, and then he broke his knee. There was no reason for us to stay in Bolivia, so we came back here when I was probably around 4. The entire time, my parents were pretty much in a toxic relationship, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, in Bolivia, I don't really know, but I'm assuming it was. And then they got a divorce. Probably I was 6, Gabe was 8. My mom got remarried, and then she ended up divorcing that guy. And then so did my dad, got remarried. He got a divorce. They both have been divorced twice, and my dad's married again, and my mom has a boyfriend, but they just don't want to get married, but they're pretty much act like they're married. It was like very different for me and Katie because her parents are still together. Her like all of her family is like here and like connected and like involved in all my, like half of my side, like my entire dad's side is in Bolivia except for his sister, which is Fatima, which has the little girl.
So if you guys want to know how my parents reacted, I have a whole entire video on that, so I will link that video down below if you guys want to see how my parents reacted. Basically, we're gonna do Ben's mom's story after we do his dad's story of how they reacted because they're two completely different stories, and his mom is a much longer story than his dad's.
We told my dad probably like the third out of all of our family. Yeah, it was like the third parent that we were telling.
It was the last parent.
It was the last parent that we were telling actually, and I texted him a few days before, like, hey, like I want to talk to you, like meet up, and then it just like things happened, so we're like it wasn't happening, and then he just kind of called me one day. He was like, you've been wanting to meet and all this stuff, and I remember I was on break at Chick-fil-A. I'm just gonna give it to you straight, like Katie's pregnant. We're obviously gonna keep the baby. With my childhood, I was so scared. Like that was like I was like I'm done. Like I'm screwed. Like there's nothing I can do. I don't know. Like me going into it thinking that my dad would react completely differently, but he was like, oh my gosh, like it's like that's awesome. Like everything will be okay. Like if you guys need to, you can move into the basement because my dad has a pretty big house and there's only 2 people living in it. He was just really supportive, which honestly shocked me beyond all extents. Like it was just completely shocked me. It was so nice. And then that's how I think that's how what really got you close to my dad at first, is that and like that support. So then we would go over there and like hang out with them and stuff like that. But that was pretty much my dad's reaction. Pretty simple, like supportive, happy.
It was over the phone, like it
over
really
the
wasn't
phone. It wasn't really
dramatic,
eventful, exactly. Before we get into like my mom's story, I just want to say that like this was a really long time ago. Like Katie was like 7 weeks and she's almost 6 months old, so it was a long time ago. And to this day we're still having some problems like healing wise with it, but
it's getting better. We're working on a relationship. To start off the story of his mom's reaction, if you guys remember in the story of how my parents reacted, I told my mom on a Monday or a Tuesday, I don't remember which day I told her. So this whole entire story is in a whole entire week span. So I told my mom on Monday, I'm just gonna say I told her on Monday, and the story ends basically on Saturday of that same week. After I told my mom on Monday, Ben and I decided to ask his mom if she wanted to meet, and we decided that that day would be on Friday of that week because that week we had started college, and we were both working, and Friday was the only day that during the day we had a big chunk of time that we could go over and talk to her. Parents being parents, she knew something was up and she asked to come over that night. And so Ben and I were not prepared. We were very anxious, very scared. We didn't have time to mentally prepare for telling his mom. I think I've mentioned before that Ben and I were living together before he moved into my house. And we were at that house, and his mom lived about 100 feet away, next door.
Yeah, in a tiny house, like in the yard.
Yeah. So she just walked on over and we sat down. We were all sitting on different couches. Like Ben and I weren't even sitting together. We kind of talked at first.
Yeah, it was
kind of weird.
It was kind of weird because she was like, "How's school?" And I'm like, "Yeah, good." And you could just tell it was like really, really awkward, and she could too. And she was like, "So, why'd you guys bring me here?"
And Ben goes, "Katie's
I was like,
pregnant."
"Katie's pregnant." I kind of just like threw it out there because it kind of took a while for me to get it out.
To refresh on how we thought reactions would go, we thought my mom would be pissed. My dad would be pissed, his mom would be super understanding, and his dad would be super, super mad too. Which, all of those reactions were the complete opposite of what we thought. So his mom at first was like, okay, who else knows? And I said that my mom knew, because at that point she was the second parent that we told. So my mom knew. She's like, well, how did your mom react? And I said, well, she's kind of excited. And his mom responded with, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
After she said that, I knew that the conversation really wasn't gonna go the way that we thought it was gonna go. We could tell this entire story and it would take like 4 hours, but to sum it all up, she basically for about 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours, sat there and hammered us with,
Hey.
this is ruining our life, what are we doing, like, if we get married, blah blah blah, we need to have an abortion, like we need to get an abortion within the next couple of days or else like because she's just a ball of cells right now, like you need to get it right now. She didn't say she because we didn't know it was a she, but she said a lot of hurtful things to me because I have always known, or at the time I had always known that I was going to keep her, and she was really shoving abortion in our face at the time. Basically, that's what the whole conversation was about. I ended up leaving the conversation and saying that I had to do homework and calling my mom and just cried my eyes out.
After Katie said that she had to go to like homework or whatever, and my mom like pulled me aside and then kind of like had a conversation with me and kind of was just like, well, how do you feel about this? And I was just like, I don't know, like we just figured it out. She was pretty much trying to like pull me aside, get me away from Katie to actually know how like I felt. I think she was honestly just trying to get us separated so then either I would leave her or Katie would have an abortion. I think that was her plot at first, and she tried very, very hard.
Anyways, we kind of went along with our week. That week will go down as one of the worst weeks in my life ever. Ben and I were not talking to each other. We were going through telling family members that we were pregnant and talking upon hours and hours and hours and hours with people about what our plans were, what are we doing. It was mentally, physically, emotionally exhausting. A couple days go on, Friday comes, and Ben and I are finally, that day, didn't have anybody to talk to. We didn't have anybody to tell. We had already told everybody, and we were just kind of being together for the first time in a long time. And I guess his mom still had the impression that we were going to meet with her that day. And so she texted Ben, she's like, when are you coming over? And you remember we were in the room and you were doing homework.
I was doing homework.
You were doing a quiz.
Yeah, I was doing a quiz and I didn't reply.
No, I did reply
and I was like, hey, I'm in the middle of a quiz right now.
Yeah, you're like, I'm doing homework, I'm doing school, like I can't come over. And she said, no, you need to come over, like right now, I need to talk to you. She said, like, I thought we had scheduled a meeting.
Yeah, and then I was like, well, we already told you like what we needed to do. I was like, I think we should distance ourselves for right now until me and Katie talk more and like figure out what happened that night and like how we feel about it and like all of this stuff. Obviously, Katie got hurt a lot, and so did I. I didn't want to like put us in another situation like that, which would have happened and actually did happening. I would say like 10 minutes go by, and remember, she's like right outside the yard, so there's really no getting away from it. She pretty much came over like screaming bloody murder in my name, and I don't know, my heart just dropped because
she was, Benjamin, get out of here, screaming outside of the house his name, like a 12-year-old in trouble for sneaking out or something like that. That's how she was treating him. So we both looked at each other. In your face, you were like, oh crap.
And like I didn't want Katie to go out there, obviously, so I pretty much just like ended up running out the house and like out there so Katie didn't have to deal with my mom. And she pretty much like took me down into like the basement of the house that like we weren't living in at all, like it was being renovated, and told like Tony, which is her boyfriend, aside and pretty much just like hammered me for like a solid hour. And I think that was like the worst time. She kind of just like had me in like a corner explaining why this would like literally ruin my life, and like how it would just like wasn't the right thing to do, and like the right thing to do was like to get an abortion or to adopt. And like she was like, how do you feel about adoption, like all of this stuff. I kind of shut down. I was just like half answering her. I mean, like obviously I didn't want to talk to her. Like I told her that I needed space, blah blah blah. I think probably the worst thing that got said to me personally was the fact that her and Tony agreed that I'd be a horrible dad, and that, I don't know, that just kind of like really like hit me low. And I was just like, I remember like hearing that, and I looked at both of them and probably said something I shouldn't have, and
Yeah.
walked away. Like I just walked away. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. So we pretty much, he left the conversation, came back inside, and then she asked for all of us to talk again. She like calmed herself down, and we were all talking outside. I was just so done with talking at this point. Like,
Yeah, and
it was
I
just
think-
too much talking.
And also in that conversation, she was still like screaming like the same tone she was
Yeah.
down in the basement. I remember like, you need to calm down. Like
Yeah.
the cops are gonna get called. And I was just like, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. Like if you want to talk to me, you need to calm down, otherwise I'm leaving, and like all of this stuff. And she was like, I don't even want to get into the details, but it was
Yeah,
just,
it was not good. We ended up, all three of us, talking outside, and she tells us that we need to be free the next day because we had an appointment at Planned Parenthood. She had somebody that was going to talk to us about our options, and she scheduled us an appointment there, which was way too far in my book. It went from you need to have an abortion to this is my baby and this is what I'm doing, from her perspective, which is so wrong. So I think we left. We said that we weren't going. We were like, we're not going to that.
Yeah.
You cannot make an appointment for us. We're not going. And we left. This is when my mom and his mom met together, and they talked about things, and they had been texting back and forth. So this is Saturday. And Saturday afternoon, my mom texted me, and she said, I just want to let you know that Ben's mom is going to be asking you to leave the house either like that day or soon. She's like, I just don't want you to be caught off guard. I want you to be prepared for that conversation. Like, don't tell anybody that I'm telling you this. And I was like, okay. So I told Ben. And I was like, I guess your mom's gonna be asking me to leave. And that afternoon, he got off of work before I did. He went home, changed, and you and his mom and his aunt all had like a 5-hour conversation somewhere
yeah,
for so long.
we pretty much just like went to a park, and we were just like walking around, and then like I think they approached that well compared to how my mom approached other situations. She definitely approached that the best. And I knew that it wouldn't be as bad as the other ones, just because Lisa was going to be there, and Lisa has like a calm head on her, and she's very sophisticated. Pretty much just talked to me and pretty much told me that like she was kicking Katie out, and then I pretty much tried defending her and like trying to reason with her and all of this stuff, and there was nothing to do.
So then you came home.
Came home with, obviously my mom came home with me.
His mom texted me and said, hey, can you talk to me? Can you come meet me outside? And at this point, I had been through it. I was fired up. I was ready to talk to her. This conversation in advance did not go well because I had a hot head. And Ben came in and he was like, if you're mad, don't go out there and talk to her.
Yeah,
I was like,
I remember saying that. I was like, it's not gonna help. It's gonna make things 10 times worse. If you're mad, don't talk to her. Wait till tomorrow. You don't have to do it today. I told her that she might have to wait till tomorrow.
I was like, no, because I'm pissed and because I'm mad, I'm gonna go talk to her right now. And I didn't listen to him at all. I went outside and we talked in the same place that we did when she told us that we had an appointment at Planned Parenthood. She tried to give me a hug. I didn't. I just kind of sat down, not really looking at her, and she kind of just started talking to me. And I told her, I was like, I know what you have to say, so why don't you just go ahead and say it? And so she went right into it. She said that since we don't have the same beliefs about this situation, that she needed me to leave. And I looked at her in the eyes and I said, if this is your plan to separate me and Ben, it's not gonna work. And if it's your plan to have him like leave me and me get an abortion or us change our minds about it, that's not gonna work. She's like, well, that's not my plan, that's not my... And I'm like, I don't know, it was just BS to me. That's what she was trying to do. It was very clear. I pretty much chewed her out. She was chewing me out. Like, it was just back and forth. Well, that night, yeah, I went over to my dad's. I was sobbing, and that's when I told my dad, and that's why I was crying when I went over there. Then you came over, we talked to my dad, we went home, and I packed up my stuff, and I was out by that following Tuesday. I think she gave me a week to get out by next Saturday, but I was out by Tuesday because the feeling of going back to that house every day made me sick. And even to this day, even driving in that area, it's such like a dark cloud over that area. We weren't getting along, you and I. There were so many terrible conversations, so many bad things said, that I just really don't like going over there at all. That's what happened. We didn't talk for a long time after that. We're still working on a relationship. We have had a few conversations. She and I have had one conversation alone together about how I feel and how much she hurt me. We haven't had very many of those serious conversations. It's all just been like, we're together and everything's fine. So we are building back that relationship and building back that trust, but obviously when things like that happen and when things like that are said, it doesn't heal very quickly, and it does take time to heal, and that is okay for wounds to heal. That's where we are now with his parents. There's a lot of family drama that happens.
On my side.
Yeah. And on my side too, but
not really. Not nearly as bad. I think the hardest part for me personally was the fact that me and Gabe growing up, like my mom was always like the good person in the relationship. Like that's a whole story in itself that I will probably never talk about. It's been like almost a year and we still...
It's been over a year now. It was September last year.
It's been a long time and it's still kind of just like, we're getting there eventually, but...
But guess what? We had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
We got married.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're okay.
Mm-hmm. Alright, I'm done talking about this. I'm gonna leave.
Okay.
Oh.
So, I'm gonna end this without you then? Okay, so I guess I'm ending this without Ben. But that is the story, guys. I'm sorry if it was like way more than you thought, but hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you guys on Friday with an IKEA video, because we're going to IKEA tomorrow to get furniture, so that'll be a fun video, so be looking out for that. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.